Howdy folks, Doc here with Last Best Tool. And after I picked up this Vera bit driver with the extra bit set inside the handle, I started thinking about the different categories of screwdrivers and if I could just take one, or if I just wanted kind of the one in a kit, what would it be? And so far it's been this one. And the reason I like this, it's rock solid. It's got the best magnet I've ever used. It holds 8 bits in a removable carousel, which is kind of nice if you're needing to switch between bits versus having to slide bits back and forth. But anyway, I started thinking, what exactly are the categories? Because that'll help me decide what I would want to carry or what I would want to upgrade if it was something that was really good. You know, a good design. Do I want to get a better one? Well, first of all, I've always carried a standard and slotted as solid screwdrivers in my overlanding kit. I always had these two at least, or something, some iteration of them. A number 2 Phillips, and generally a fairly decent sized slotted. And the reason was they're rock solid, super hard to break. There are no moving parts, and the precision back and forth, especially with Phillips, is critical. But as I've developed kind of a taste for quality bit sets, like these diamond bits, you know, these hold function bits, the diamonds here, different kinds, Torx bits, or Allen bits, excuse me. I started thinking, what exactly is going on with the screwdrivers? And I came up with a couple of categories. First of all are the integrated bits that are fairly proprietary. And this design, like in this Milwaukee or this Milwaukee, they're kind of hokey. They're not easy to swap between. You know, usually you have to use the bit to push out the other one and then put it in. And it's only the magnetic bit. And it's too deep if you put a regular bit in here. You know, you can see it is possible to use it, but it may not be easy to get out. And if you throw a Phillips in there, you're going to have pliers to get it out of there. But anyway, that's what these are all about. A variation, obviously, is, these are all proprietary or specialty in any of the kind of the reversible ones. Same with Kleins, with Snap-on. The next, I guess, category has to do with bit storage. This is a real bad design, real hard to turn, doesn't hold very many bits. You can't see what they are. That's one of the things that I like about carousels like this, or if you pop this out, you can easily see the one you want, whereas some of them, this one, not too bad, but when it comes to, say, the Snap-on, you basically have to dump them all out into your hand to find the one that you want. Or in the case of this Craftsman, unless you mark it on here, you don't know, what's in there. It's also a really slick design. If you've got any oil on your hands, good luck trying to change it. This is really hard to twist. Overall, bad design. Ratchet's not too bad, but the bit storage is horrendous. Same here. Got to twist this out in the standard old hard handles, dump all the bits out, find the one you want, put the rest away, or more likely dump them on the table. Weehaw, on their little one, has got a little removable carousel. That's nice. Klein actually makes a screwdriver that comes with a bit set that slides over the shaft. So then the last one, and the one that I find most useful, is when you just have the raw hex bit magnetic holder. Now, there is an upgrade to that, and that is what I was discovering here, is when you actually insert a locking mechanism into the system that holds the bit firmly, because many times, the bit sticks, especially if you're using sticky bits, like the diamond bits. And, of course, when you pull it out, then the bit stays in the fastener. So it's kind of nice to have either a super powerful magnet like this PB Swiss, which, by the way, grabs everything. I mean, the amount of magnetic pull on this is incredible. Or inserting some kind of an attachment that holds it. The problem there is, look at the shaft increase in size. You know, you can see I may have limited my ability to work with this because it's fairly large. So what do I want to do for that one bit storage screwdriver excuse me, system? One thing, I don't care for the Kleins as much. They're really handy, but they're big, they're bulky. Sometimes I have to pull this out. Whoops, I lost a piece there somewhere. And, you know, and then switch that and switch this. You know, you can see that they're, well, it's stuck inside. Fell out, I guess, when I dropped it. But anyway, these are a pain unless, you know, I'm constantly flipping, you know, back and forth sometimes. Like this thing. Why is this not a small Phillips on this end? Why a square? I've got to memorize things. So anyway, Klein got themselves excluded from my list. Snap-on, I love their interchangeable bit shanks. That's great. In fact, you can go to, you know, socket shanks, flexible shanks, short, long, etc. Those are wonderful. The bit storage is not the greatest. It does store them, yes. You get fewer in this than in a hard one because of the depth. Well, because of the mechanism here stops it. So this would be a good comparison here. So you can see if I take this one, stick it down in there, there's the top. You can see how much further that goes in. Whoops, I don't know if you saw that. So to there, we do it this way, only to there. So you can see I lose about an inch of depth. This old Craftsman I showed you before, that's out of the question, simply because not the greatest bits in a heavy handle. That's another thing, is these handles, once you start adding all these long bits, which I don't really like the idea of, is putting all the metal in the bit instead of in the driver if there's nothing you can do about it. But anyway, that rules it out. Plus, it's kind of a wonky system that has to be released in order for it to work. If there was a way you could close this off so it locked in better, that'd be good. Old school ones, this old Snap-on, I like it for the low profile. It does have pretty good depth. We can check that. You know, that's the depth, so I can get quite a few things into it, including long Milwaukee bits, which I like. And this particular one is often a go-to. It's pretty decent as far as the magnetic pull. In one of my earlier tests, not as strong. But low profile, simple. If it's going to get used, maybe. It's certainly reliable, but not the greatest to use around the shop. It's kind of wonky. You know, you can see where they just basically cut a hole in the handle and then screwed a cap on, so nothing as elegant as their later designs, which were more fluid and integrated, you know, kind of an organic flow in the handle. This is obviously just bolted on the top. I think it's kind of funny, but that's the evolution. That's what you're studying there. But anyways, I started using this. Another thing came up, and that's moving parts. This has a lot of them. It's got a spring there. It's got a spring down here. Whoops. It's got the need for a pretty solid connection right around here, because that's the twisting part. It's got to lock into this lower collar, and so I'm putting all of the force actually on the closing mechanism. Is that smart? Well, I don't know. It hasn't failed on me yet, but it's plastic, and basically I've got about 6 teeth. 1, 2, or maybe 4 teeth, excuse me, that it bites into. And that's where all the force goes into it. So we'll see if it holds up. It is really convenient, but as far as, you know, a really long-term, I could see failure points here. If this doesn't seat anymore, this latching mechanism, this doesn't have the bite, therefore this is going to break. The mechanism inside here, there are some points of failure or potential failure there with the plastic over time. We'll see. At the moment, the good old Snap-ons seem rock solid. The more I use this guy, the more I just appreciate the simplicity. These are great, but they're very heavy, which leads me back to the updated version of this, which I kind of like. And it's got the replaceable shafts. It's a win there. So the one that I'm starting to lean towards actually is this guy. I do, for my small kit, definitely this. But for a lot of use, a lot of versatility, moving between sockets and bits, I'm thinking the simplicity of this design. It's not too heavy. It's pretty dang solid. You know, especially, you know, when you lock it, the snap-on mechanism, not perfect, but there's not a lot of play there. Handle's reasonable, fairly lightweight. It does have the pile of bits that I could put in there, but generally I'm swapping between one or two. And then I probably will still always carry my solid screwdrivers in the most common size, the slotted and the Phillips, or at least the Phillips, because I often have something else I can use as a slotted. But anyway, as I look through all these, you know, as far as weight, as far as usability, remember the weight has to do with the tip of the tool as you're trying to use it, how smooth you can operate it. You know, if you think about it and you're actually using one of these little bits here, you know, in something, you know, how much dexterity do you actually have with a heavy tool? That can be a problem. Same here. It's a little dense tool. This one actually is really handy, and it fits these smaller bits a little bit better than the bigger one. But you're carrying all the bits in kind of an extra long version in the handle, so it adds up in weight. Kleins, as I mentioned, have those issues. The PB Swiss, super light, wonderful, transparent. You can see them all in the carousel. You can operate it with or without it. That's where this was a problem. I can't have this out. I've got to close it in order to drive the screws. This one, either way, just a very well designed. And then this has always been kind of one of my favorites, but you know, a lot of times I don't use the bend, so do I really need it? You know, or maybe I'm overdriving. Anyway, so as I build out bit sets, and these are starting to get kind of pricey, you know, this diamond ones, you're pushing almost $100 for something like that, you know, and then the diamond Torx. So the idea I have now is to basically go back to some simple designs. Do I want a ratchet? If I do, it's probably going to be this guy. If I don't, it's definitely going to be this guy. And then I'm going to play around with a lot of you know, house projects, etc. with this, see if it holds up. I have, since I posted my first video, heard people say, you know, it's nice for simple things, but it doesn't hold up, or they broke something. And I can certainly see that. There's points of failure with this release mechanism and spring, points of failure with the contact here, points of failure with this release mechanism and spring here. And it's all, you know, pretty solid plastic. I think that might be metal in there. But this is not an heirloom tool. This is a hard use tool, almost disposable. You get into stuff like this, you're starting to work more towards heirloom tools, things that are going to last kind of like a lifetime. But we are talking screwdrivers here. Same with this PB Swiss. I wouldn't, you know, this thing, as soon as this mechanism gets messed up, this is toast. I don't even think I would, I would keep the bits if I broke that screwdriver. Anyway, so that's some of my thoughts as I'm playing around with these, trying to figure it out. I do like the evolution. I do like that all the companies seem to be pushing innovation on a very old design, and it's important that you know, we kind of roll with it. If there's an issue, there's a problem, we're going to learn from it. If something never goes bad, we're not sure why it works. Once we start playing around with it, I realized I didn't know, you know, seeing the bits was so critical till I couldn't see the bits. And then I thought, this is stupid. I have to dump every single bit out as I try to figure out which one I need, and I can't turn this thing. So whatever. But Craftsman, this stuff comes and goes almost, you know, a couple of times a year, it seems. So it's nice to see the companies explore new spaces and then modify it from what they learn from the people in the field. And with that, Doc out.